Okay, so this video is going to feel a little weird and definitely just jam straight into the middle of the course. And that's because I was driving home from work and I was like, oh no, I forgot to teach them how to do optional parameters. So this is the video on that. So um, you may remember there is a function called prompt, and you can give it a prompt. Say, what is your name? And then if we save this and we go over to our running code, we get a prompt that says, what is your name? We type some stuff in here and we can come back. But you may also remember that you can put a comma and, oh, sorry. You can put a comma and you can put in a second string here, and this will be the default value. So now if we go live, we've got an input and it has our prompt here and it has our default value here. So in other words, the way this prompt worked, one, it changed based on input, which we know how to do that with parameters. But two, there was optional input that you could give it. You could give it optional extra parameters. Well, I am here to show you how to do that. So here I have this function called getRandomNumber, and it takes in a minimum number and a maximum number, and then it does math necessary to generate a random number between the minimum and the maximum inclusive. So you can put in 1 and 10 and it'll generate a random number that could be 1, anywhere between 1 and 10. And I've used math.floor, so it will always be an integer. So I could say alert get random number. I want it to be between 20 and 25. And if I save that and I come over here to my code, I get 22. If I reload, I get 21. Reload, get 25. Reload, get 22. And it's consistently generating random numbers between that range. Well, that's really great. But wouldn't it be nice if I could just call get random number by saying alert, get random number, and just putting in the top of the range? Because maybe I just want a number between 0 and 10. And that's probably a pretty frequent occurrence if you think about how you use this function. If computers start counting at 0 and you're interacting with anything that's computer generated, chances are you want to include 0 in your range. So chances are you want to start at 0 and you don't need to tell it both. It's nice that it's flexible enough to take both, but it'd be nice if you didn't have to give it a minimum number. Well, that is what optional parameters are for. So if you come here to get random number, you can set a default value. There are some rules with this though. Any optional parameters must appear after the required parameters. So for example, if we are requiring a maximum number, then we need to change the order of these parameters. So we need to take a maximum number, and then optionally, we'd need to take a minimum number. And then to set it to have a default value, we'll set it to 0. Okay, so when I call this, I'm going to show you both of these, and we're going to go use the debugger. Okay, so we got 24 and 10. But let's come over here to sources and let's put a breakpoint on line 16 and reload the page. Okay, we're about to call get random number and we're going to pass in 20 and 25. If we hit next, if we hover over max, it is 20 and minimum is 25. Lovely. I broke this function because I called this one in the wrong order. But we'll hit next and it generates a random number and alerts it and we get 24. Then we call get random number with 10. We hit next. The max is 10. The minimum is 0. Because we didn't give it a minimum, it set it to 0. So we hit next. It generates those numbers and then it alerts 9, which is in fact between 0 and 10. Coming back over, if you want to make something optional, you put it at the end and you assign it a default value, meaning if they don't give you anything, that's the value you want to assign. I'm going to fix this function call real quick so that 25 is the max and 20 is the minimum. And so now 25 would go into max. Because we gave it a minimum, it'll set it to 20. On the next one, because we don't give it a minimum, it sets it to 0. And that's how optional parameters work, and it can make your functions a lot more flexible. Hope that's helpful.